We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free. Oh, make us free.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Franklin and the mountains of western North Carolina and northeast Georgia and the ancestral land of the Cherokee. We are a lay-led congregation of progressive minds and caring connections. All are welcome as we worship that which gives us each meaning and value. No matter what you call this hour or this gathering of people, we worship as one body illuminated by the light of the chalice. My name is Mary Teslow, and I'm pleased to be your service leader today with the help of my very special friend, Judith Bellflower. Our Sunday service team is the Sanctuary Tech Support, Warren Riley, Bruce Brandsma, and Becky Thorndike, Zoom Stage Manager and Music Coordinator, Jude Lowry, Zoom Tech Support, Jill Ellern, Greeters, Sue Ann, and Tom Riesdorf. Our church-related announcements: as we gather in community, we take a moment to greet each other in Zoom and in the sanctuary. So we'll say hi to everybody and see our folks, some of our folks. There they are. Wonderful. That's great. I'm delighted to tell you that we have a new updated website at uufranklin.org, and we're pretty excited about how it looks. Yay. So I hope if you've had a chance to look at it, that would be fabulous, and we welcome any kind of feedback or suggestions, or if you want to add content, that would be terrific. And if you haven't looked, I encourage you to take the time to do that. The UU World discussion is today after coffee hour. Our association is engaged in reviewing our 7 principles, which are part of Article 2 of the UUA bylaws. A significant change is recommended, so join us in person or on Zoom to begin a discussion that will prepare us to vote at our annual meeting. Our ladies' lunch is Tuesday, March 28th on Zoom at noon, so you can contact Laura Lovelace. Next Sunday morning, a spirituality discussion in Celebration Hall and on Zoom from 9:30 to 10:30. Are there any other announcements? Are there any on Zoom? Do we have any on Zoom? Looks like we're in. Oh, Don, please, come on.
I'd just like to expand on next Sunday morning that John Ritchie, who did our service a couple months ago on the transition of aging or going through our life changes, life transitions, he's going to be here next Sunday morning starting at 9:30 for a pre-service discussion. And all are welcome to come and learn from him and to support what his being here. Thank you.
Just in case any of us are aging, huh? Just in case. And that's exactly now. Our fellowship is a light for liberal religion in the mountains that values diversity and the richness it brings to our community. Our celebration of diversity is reflected in the variety of our Sunday services. We hope today's service enriches your journey. Today, we welcome back Bob Bourke from Macon New Beginnings with a message on homelessness in our community. Our chalice lighting this morning is adapted from the Reverend Melanie Davis. This morning, we light our chalice using a spark of hope. We kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. Thank you, Judith. We appreciate you. Our opening words are from the Macon New Beginnings website from the Epistle of James, chapter 2, 15 to 17. Imagine a brother or sister who is naked and never has enough food to eat. What if one of you said, "Go in peace, stay warm, have a nice meal"? What good is it if you don't actually give them what their body needs? In the same way, faith is dead when it doesn't result in faithful activity. Our opening hymn is 123, Spirit of Life. Those in the sanctuary, if you'd like to stand, you're certainly welcome to.
Spirit of life, come Homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. Homeless, homeless, but there is hope because he came down to earth to lead us, and he vowed he'd never leave us. Homeless, homeless, for in his love there is a home. Oh, so homeless, homeless was his humble birth. He was homeless, homeless, and still he changed the earth. Nothing kept his heart from giving, though most of his life was living. Homeless, homeless, he showed it's how we live, not where are. When his homeless days on earth were done, when his homeless days were done, he went home to where we all came from. And he went to prepare. He went to prepare. A mansion for us there. He gave his whole life to lead us, and I know he'll never leave us. Homeless, homeless, for in his love there's a home. We are not homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. There is a homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. There is a homeless, homeless, like the Christ child was. There is a homeless, we're not homeless, oh, like the Christ child was. There is a homeless, homeless, we are not homeless, like the Christ child was. There is a home.
Our dedication of our gifts. Gifts given in love and hope continue a cycle of love and hope. So may it be. We are pleased to welcome back Bob Bourke, who, along with his wife Debbie, are 2 of 5 volunteers at Macon New Beginnings, which has served the Macon County homeless and those in danger of becoming homeless for 8 years. Please join me in welcoming back Bob Bourke.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me back. We really appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk with you all about something that's passionate in both my wife and the rest of our volunteers' hearts. Like Mary said, we have 5 total volunteers. We've been in existence since 2015. We're a 501c3 organization. I found or came across a quote early on from Edward Everett Hale, who was a Unitarian minister. And the quote says, "I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do." So that's kind of something, along with what Mary had read through Ephesians, how we got started in Macon New Beginnings. We saw homeless people. We're not natives of Franklin, but grew up elsewhere, and we've seen homeless people all our lives. And we said, surely there's something we can do. So that's how Macon New Beginnings began. 5 of us got together and said, there's got to be something we can do. We don't know what. We don't have homeless skills. We're not mental health people. We're not in the professions, that sort of thing. In fact, I'm a CPA by trade, and helping the homeless was not on my list of things to do. So we started Macon New Beginnings, and we developed what we call 3 programs. They include helping the homeless with prevention, helping the homeless or nearly homeless with a place to live. We call that emergency shelter. We have a backpack program, and I'll go through that in a little bit as to what's in that backpack. And we used to have what we called serving spoon. I'll talk a little bit about that before, but since COVID, that has kind of gone by the wayside. So the first program is what we call prevention. And that's folks that present to us that are about to become homeless for whatever reason that may be. Eviction, and don't forget, homelessness is, federally they define it in different ways, but homelessness is basically you don't have a place to live, shelter over your head that's habitable for humans. Now think about that. What does that entail? No water, particularly in the winter, no electricity, no heat. The place has black mold, you name it, all kinds of stuff to it. It's run down, it's not habitable for humans. We also include, and HUD does not include, a definition of couch surfing. So if somebody is going friend to friend to friend to friend to family and whatever else and doesn't have a permanent place to sit, we consider that a homeless person. Federal government does not. So our prevention entails, people will call us up, and I'll go through the process a little bit as well, but people will call us up asking for help with electric, with water, with heat, any of those kinds of things. We do an intake process with everybody. What that means is we have everybody call our phone number. That gives us a record of who's called and what they need. A lot of people don't tell us exactly what they need, but at least we've got a phone number and some contact information right away. We'll do an intake. We'll sit down, talk with them. Usually takes half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on the person, and try to understand their circumstances. Why are they in this situation, and what do they need help with? A lot of people, the reason why we have the phone call is the first step in recovery of any kind of circumstances is admitting you have a problem and reaching out for help. So that's why the phone call. The second thing we do is the intake process. That includes background checks on everybody, whoever it is. And the reason why we do background checks is people lie. We had a circumstance early on in our process that an individual called us up and said he needed help. Turns out that person had 6 outstanding warrants from Buncombe County. He had a nice warm place to stay now. We ask people, if you have issues outstanding, you've got to resolve those issues first. And that's one of the things that we do. We work with all the agencies in Macon County, the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, DSS, Health Services, Social Security Administration, Veterans Affairs. We have 2 people on our board that are with the Veterans Affairs Services here in Macon County. Just about any agency you can think of, we work with. We work with 16 churches intermittently, and many other churches within the area. We have 7, 8 now partnerships with churches that we do all the intakes for them, and they refer folks to us for help. A lot of churches don't have the resources to do background checks. We even check Google and Facebook. You know, people will tell us things, and then we'll go on Facebook and find out what they've posted themselves about themselves. It's amazing the things that you can find out on Facebook. The next program is helping the homeless. So somebody presents to us and they don't have a place to live. It's particularly in the wintertime when it gets cold. They'll present to us, and we'll try to find them a local motel to stay in. A lot of times the local motels have a blacklist, which means they've had folks come into their hotels and trash their rooms. We've had motel owners that will tell us after that person left, there were needles in the bathroom, there were all kinds of stuff. The AC was torn apart and broken, that sort of thing. The same thing from landlords. We've had landlords that we work with come to us and say, the person owes us $8,000 worth of back rent and they caused $10,000 worth of damage to the place. So even landlords are creating blacklists. They won't rent to people again because of those circumstances. Just think of it. If somebody came in and tore up your rental and now you got $10,000 plus you've got to repair it and no income, that's really, people have mortgages on these places. So that's the emergency. Backpacks. We came up with a program, and basically the idea is a person will present, let's say at a street light or something like that, and you'll say, boy, I'd like to help that person. I'd like to do something. The light's changing. Oh, I could give them some money, but they may take, shoot up drugs or buy beer or something with that. I don't want to do that. Oh, I could give them a McDonald's certificate, but that's really not food. Nothing against McDonald's. And then the light changes and off you go and you haven't done anything. So the idea of the backpack was you can hand them a backpack. It has personal hygiene items in it. It has food items in it. It has a Bible in it. It has some clothing items. In the wintertime, we'll put some beanies and some socks in there and some gloves in there. It has an emergency blanket in there. Just some things to get them by for a couple of days that can help them out in some way. So we encourage folks to call us up and ask for a backpack. We'll put them out at the doorstep. If you want a backpack, we'll get you a backpack. And the idea is, rather than going off to whatever city you're going to, have a couple of backpacks with you and hand them out when you see a homeless person. They'll appreciate it, and you've done something. Serving spoon. We used to prepare a meal or have a meal prepared every Thursday down at the JC building, pre-COVID. We were getting about 50 people show up, and 16 churches and businesses and individuals would prepare the meals and bring them to the JC building. It worked out great because we didn't have to comply with any health codes on preparing meals and that sort of thing. The churches would bring it in, serve the meals, and we'd have a time of community for folks. We were trying to do that during COVID. We were handing out boxes of food with people. All you had to do was drive by and we'd hand you a box of food. We were still preparing about 50 meals, and we had a handful of folks show up. The last time we did Serving Spoon was 2021. We had one person show up. We had the church prepare the meal. There was about 8 or 10 people there waiting to help people. We had one person show up. So we've discontinued that. We can't ask people to prepare a meal and have one person show up. We've had a couple of churches ask us what's going on, and they've tried to do a program, and they're getting the same result. About 1 or 2 people will show up. Some people will ask us some things about, well, how many people are in Macon County? How many homeless people do we have? We kind of separate them between a chronic homeless person and those that are in and out for whatever reason. They're in danger of becoming homeless. They just became homeless, whatever. Chronic, we have maybe 20 that are chronic homeless that we see repeatedly year after year after year. Some of them, people will say, well, how does that happen? How do people become homeless? What's their circumstances? A percentage of them, I would say maybe 20, maybe upwards of 30 have some sort of mental, behavioral, something going on in their life that's happened, in those circumstances. Another 20% or so are addiction to something. Alcohol, you name it, whatever, fentanyl, opioids, whatever, something's happened in that regard. Again, we are not experts in those fields. If a person is asking for help, we have some information lists in the back that have a whole list of services that are available here in Macon County. Appalachian Services, all kinds of agencies that are available. On that list are also landlords in the area that we've worked with that may or may not. We don't know, because that changes periodically, but there's information about landlords. Alcoholics Anonymous is on that list. All kinds of folks, names and numbers are on that list that they can reach out to and get a hold of. Also back there, we have a backpack list. The items that we collect on backpacks, periodically churches will ask us, well, how can we help? Where can we lend a hand? Backpacks are an easy thing, particularly for youth to put together. We'll ask them to assemble the items from the list, and then we'll have an evening that we'll pack up the backpacks, and then we give them a story about somebody who was a client of ours, no names, a client of ours, and the circumstances that happened through their life and how they became homeless. So they can associate kind of a circumstance with a backpack. Why are people becoming homeless? People will ask, why do people become homeless? The list is across the board. We've had folks that get divorced and it wrecks their life. We've had people get abused substances and that wrecks their lives. All kinds of circumstances. You name it, it probably has been a reason why somebody's become homeless. We do not get any funding from any government agency. We started down that path and found out that there are a lot of hooks and all kinds of requirements for that. We are 5 volunteers. We work full time. So we do this on our own. None of us get paid to help the homeless here in Macon County. The government agencies, I'll give you an example. When we first started, a man presented to us and he was homeless. He didn't have a job, didn't have a place to stay. There's a homeless coalition that's the 8 western counties from Buncombe West. In that coalition, they have what they call rapid rehousing, and that's a federal government, a HUD concept. Rapid rehousing, you have to be 14 days homeless before they even do an intake on you. 14 days in the wintertime, somebody could die in that period. 14 days homeless. Then you get on the rapid rehousing list. That list can be 20, 30, 40 people long. So you're on the end of the list. That could take another month until you get up to the top of the list to get into the system. They were having issues with a check. Long story short, it could be 2 months until you get some dollars to get into a place, if there's a place available. If you're a landlord and you want to become HUD approved, there's a 77-page document that you have to fill out to become landlord approved. Some of those I completely understand. Lead paint. That's 4 pages just to document whether you do or not have lead paint. On top of that, there's nobody around here that'll do the inspections. So how do you get somebody out there to do it? It's one of the organizations that you can find in these 8 counties to do the inspection to verify that you're not a lead-based paint landlord. Back to the guy that we had present to us early on. On a Friday, he called us at 10 o'clock. Through some of the resources that we have and contacts that we had, we got him a place to stay, a job, and food in 24 hours. We had a guy present Friday. We just had my wife and I had our anniversary Friday, and we were out of town. We got a message from the Franklin police chief saying that they came across a homeless person. That evening, he had a place to stay, a backpack, and a prospect for a job. That wouldn't happen if you went through a government program. So we're here to help the homeless. If anybody wants to volunteer or help us out, we're always looking for volunteers. We don't have a shelter. A lot of people have asked us questions about shelters. I forget the gentleman's name. I'm getting worse and worse as I transitioned on names. but a gentleman was talking to us about the building over there, about a shelter. We have five volunteers. It takes a community to run a homeless shelter. Until that presents, we'll keep on doing what we can do with what we have. And like I said, we have at least 8 churches now that are working and partnering with us to help the homeless. It's wonderful how God provides. Every time we turn around, something else, there's another opportunity, another partner will join us. Like I said, if you want to volunteer, contact us. We have some flyers also in the back, a little bit of information about Macon New Beginnings. You can always contact us through our website. Our phone number is 828-202-3103. You call that number, we'll get back to you and either give you some information. If you encounter a homeless person, have them call that number so that we can start the process with them. Okay.
What would a volunteer do?
Right now, we're looking for people to help us with intakes. So my wife does the vast majority of intakes. Sometimes she doesn't let me do the intakes. She's a lot more empathetic than I am. We've had some folks come in that they'll demand things from us. And, if you're looking for help, I don't know why you put on circumstances on things, but that's just me personally. But she has a very empathetic ear. We have a couple of folks that volunteer with us. One lady, she's 87, and don't tell her that I told you her name, her age. But she's 87 years old, and she helps out when she can. And it's nothing more than sitting down and listen to the person. We have a checklist, an interview checklist that we go through and just ask some basic questions. How did you become homeless? What's your income? Do you have income? We've had some folks that, one veteran, he didn't know that he could get veteran services. So we helped him get the veteran services and get his pension out of the vets. Same thing with Social Security. We've had people that say, I don't know how to get Social Security. We've helped them get Social Security, and now they have income. So whatever their needs are, we try to help them out as best we can. One thing I don't know that Mary, just real quick, in those, 8 years now, we've helped over 1,600 people. Probably about 30% of that population are women with kids. There are a lot of kids that are homeless with their mother out there. Thank you very much again.
Bob, thank you so much for all that you and Debbie and your other volunteers are doing and the opportunity for us to help contribute to that work. We were delighted to make some offerings in the winter along with the local Buddhist group, and we have now ways of knowing how we can do that going forward. So thank you so much. As we prepare for joys and concerns, please know they will be edited out before being posted online. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. As a spiritual community, it's our deepest intention to be authentically present to one another, especially in times of challenge and times of joy. One way we do this is by pausing in the Sunday service to listen to the life-changing personal milestones in our lives. If you have such a milestone and you choose to share it aloud, we invite you to share it now, and I'll drop a pebble into the water. We'll begin with those on Zoom acknowledged by our host, followed by those in the sanctuary. We'll take a moment of silence, please. Closing words are adapted from the Reverend Max A. Coots. After the words, a quiet. After the songs, a silence. After the crowd, only the memory recalls the gathering. Peace and justice have need of you after the words, the music, and the gathering. God grant you the depth of dedication to love, compassion, and justice. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 121, We'll Build a Land. You're welcome to stand if you would like.
Man.
Let's hope not. Here we go. Oh, Judith, dear one, you come be with me? Extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but we keep the light in our hearts and its message of love and justice. Take it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks so much. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to remind you about the UU World discussion this afternoon about 12:30 after coffee hour. Ms. Jude has put up a picture of the proposed new version or replacement of the principles called the values. So interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. So I hope those of you who can stay for that discussion, whether you join on Zoom or here in person, that will be wonderful. Our service next Sunday will welcome back Reverend Dr. Kate Grayson with a message about perceptions, prayer, and faith when we find ourselves in situations that we do not always agree with. Our closing covenant. Now we'll join in spirit as we recite our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and community is its goal. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So may it be. Those on Zoom are welcome to continue the conversation. Those in the sanctuary are invited to coffee hour. The service has ended.